Peace and germs. Welcome back to another 2 a.m. cast, despite the fact that I have to get up at 6 a.m. for work here on this ranked Arabia. No time to lose. So much action already popping off. Here in the 9 o'clock position, we have zzto942 as the Ethiopians, who is about roughly a minute and 30 seconds late to Fugal H, which is a super interesting choice and strategy, up against, over here near the 2 o'clock position, Revisioner playing as the Magyars, who are starting to scale their scouts outside of the stable over here. They're going to start sending them towards Blue, who is starting to wall up tip to tip, and going to get some scouts and a blacksmith of their own. It looks like they might be going a little bit to fast castle because the food game is already popping off, and we're only about 200 food away from going up to castle as soon as blacksmith and the stable gets finished. So let's imagine it's exactly what Blue's going to do. A lot of villagers exposed here near the berries, which is going to be really, really bad, but Loom is in, so the villagers are going to fight back and fight for the right to party. But a little bit of idle time coming in here from Blue, as it seems like we are ready to click up to castle from Blue, and they are going to, but the scouts are going to come in here and cause some trouble. I'm not sure if Red has any vision at this point, as 2 scouts go down up against some villagers, as to whether or not Blue has certain buildings up that would indicate that they're going fast castle. But the farm scale over here for Red is already popping off, so the eco is going pretty well for Blue, but the army is not, as the final scout dies and bleeds to death right in front of the berry patch, which is something you hate to see. Eco upgrades now coming in for Blue quite late, and the eco is small. It's very small. That's spelled with the S-M-O-L, as we see 25 villagers in for Blue compared to 27 from Red, and Red is continuing to spend more and more food on some scouts. It looks like they're out for blood and a little upset perhaps that the previous scout performance didn't work out. So they're going to put themselves even farther away from Castle H by continuing to pump out more scouts, which is interesting. But like I said, you kind of never know what your opponent is doing. They're now going to get a little bit of a layout of the base. And honestly, if I'm looking at this base from Red's perspective, there isn't honestly anything that strictly tells me that their opponent is going fast castle. They definitely underspent on a lot of stuff. See the blacksmith, see the stable, it's pretty typical. Maybe it's a bit interesting to note from Red's perspective that there have been no stable units coming out at this point, but nothing super crazy. And now Red sees the castle age coming in as Blue is starting to scout around the outside. And some archers are going to start streaming in, which are really, really good counters to Shotel warriors that Blue could be building at some point. One really, really nice thing, which I really love about the Ethiopians, as Red, for some reason, decides to take a fight with the scout against the upgraded pikemen, is that the Ethiopians, by the way, they get their pikemen upgrade immediately up to Castle H. So you got a little spearmen out in the field, they go straight to pikemen, and they can shred light cav, which unfortunately Red had to find out the hard way as they missed micro quite a few, and now causing a little havoc here as the villagers have to micro back and fight the scouts. Little taste of your own medicine here. Knight now going to come in and start fighting the villagers, and can villagers take down a knight? One villager goes down. HP on the knight, yeah, causing a little idle time, almost goes down, but now the second knight is in. They're going to rotate the weak knight to the back. Going to cause more havoc, and I think that to survive, Red, who is not honestly that close to castle age, and I honestly surprised is still fighting at this point, is going to have to fight with their villagers, which is honestly like a really awful and terrible place that you don't want to be in. I mean, look at the food, everybody. Look at the food. We're talking about spending more food in Feudal Age just to defend yourself when your opponent's already into castle. So we're going to be like 5 minutes behind at least to Castle Age, and you do have to pump out the spearmen to defend yourself. Blue over here already going on their second TC, which means they're going to be able to start the pump a la Arnold Schwarzenegger immediately. And Red, despite all that being said, We are at 37 villagers compared to the 30, but as soon as that second TC goes up, it's gonna be game time. Something that honestly, yes, more knights are coming in, but these knights are like trickle knights. I think that actually blue would have done a lot more damage despite the fact that they have done a lot of damage if they didn't trickle these knights in, because look at this knight. It just came in and just like died immediately to the Fugal Age Spearman, which wasn't good. Revision are going to get, would you call this a panic market? Like maybe is going to utilize it immediately in order to get even closer to clicking up into Castle Age. And yeah, so this is going to be pretty behind in terms of timing. But I think honestly, the game is probably going to be a little bit even, with the exception of the fact that the villager pump is going to be going crazy for blue. And the reason it's going to be even is because I really believe that blue really goofed up on that night rush. It did do a little bit of damage, but if you had kept those knights alive and just look for some snipes on the farms, you look for some snipes in the back, that would have been fine. Do you think that this is a hidden stable coming in here from Revisioner just so that they don't show it to blue? No, I guess not. They have a forward stable coming here, so I'm not sure what the choice is to put the other stable in the back over here, but maybe it's just because there was a villager who was close by. Also very annoying sometimes to have to manage the wood line. Annoying to have some idle villagers. And we're going to see some monks now coming out on the field for blue. And I'm not sure if they're trying to use that to get the relics. Can anyone explain this? What is the outpost over here for? Tiger might be killing this villager to death, and they're going to have to run on cancel the outpost and run on the high ground in order to kill the tiger, which is really awful. I hate to see that. Little action coming here as blue is now going to start stealing and sniping the relics. Red going to go out and get a little vision, which is good, but hopefully they won't die to these spearmen now that cavalry's going to be on low HP. Blue is getting a little forward outpost, forward vision, which I'd like to see. Does see that blue is not on stone, so I guess they're not expecting a castle drop to come in. Interesting choice to get skirmishers out for red. I'm not 100% sure what that is about. I would say that because, okay, I know why. They're getting skirmishers because Ethiopians is an archery civilization, but I'm just saying there's no indication at this point that your opponent would be going on archers, but it's a light investment. So I respect that. This is a good choice, I think, to get these two TCs over here on the outside from red. I think that they detect that they're behind. And a nice way to fix that is to outboom your opponent. And outboom they will, but blue counters with a third TC back here, which is on the gold. I think a little kind of an unfortunate thing, if you can say that, is that these TCs are like not really protecting any stone or gold resources, as blue is now going to pick up their, I don't know, maybe this is their final relic they needed to pick up. Really nice micro to manage the monks. No, I guess if they're coming back home, this might be like their third or second relic that might come back in. Camel's going to start chasing the scout, who's going to get a little more vision on red's base, and I'm sure that they're aware at this point that blue is on quite a few TCs, so we go into red's vision. They're going to see two TCs, and if we go into blue's vision, I'm not sure what they're able to see. For the red opponent, I don't think they know about the two TCs. Now, they don't know about the two TCs on the outside. And this game is going to the next level. We're going off to the next section of the game. We're going to get production upgrades. We're going to get a couple of knights out for red. They're going to walk around and look for some damage. And they're going to have to back off because the monk might have converted that knight otherwise. But that's really good to get the vision and just see that your opponent actually has monks on the map. I'm not seeing a really specific strategy coming in from either player at this point, other than the fact that there are a few camels and pikes on the field. I think that blue really just wanted to make sure that they collect all the relics, and it looks like another archery range is coming in. So I'm not sure if that means that red wants to invest a few more units into cavalry archers. So we do know Magyars is a cavalry archer civilization. Neither player, well, I would say neither, but I would say low investment coming in from both players in terms of getting a super quick castle up. Fourth TC now coming in from blue to protect the stone in the front. They have a really nice layout on the protection of the resources, I think, compared to Revisioner, who has, if you could say, 2 hidden TCs in the back over here, which that can be good. Because I think when you're playing a really, really aggressive game and your opponent wants to go for the critical hits and resources, I think if you don't know your opponent is booming in the back, you might just forget that that's the section that you want to hit. And now the cavalry archers are starting to scale for our red player as we are getting upgrades at the stable to get more hit points, to get more speed. And blue so far in terms of military does not have a great answer to this. I think they're honestly both players at this point are just kind of like chilling and booming. I would like to see those cavalry archers start moving out, but I think that the bad thing about that is that maybe you don't want to show them. Like I said, if you are playing Magyars, I think your opponent is going to know they're going to go cavalry archers at some point. I think that if blue caught wind of this archery range that has something cute in it, they're probably thinking themselves, oh, cavalry archers. As blue is not able to reveal the back TCs on the map, I would suppose, doesn't see that 4th TC over here that is just starting to go up for Visioner. So very, very light, chill game coming in from both players as they both are starting to boom their military. We now are going to very soon have 10 cavalry archers on the map. Wheelbarrow coming in for red. As I believe at this point, blue, if they wanted to, could click up to Imperial. Okay, so they're missing perhaps... No, they have the monastery and they have the university. And they could click up if they wanted to, and I don't know why they're not doing that. If anyone in the chat or the YouTube comments can let me know. Okay, there we go. Blue, Imperial coming in. But now we have a little bumping and grinding coming in here from red, as they're going to cause a little distraction and try to bust through with these 2 knights. But I think it is a distraction, if one can call it that. Didn't take the opportunity to just walk past, but you know, going to do a little razzle dazzle and maybe distract the opponent with 2 knights. Not sure if red is. Oh yes, they're going to be able to walk by and die to the spearman, which is an interesting decision. But it's about the long game. It's about the long psychological game. You want to get your opponent, you know, to say huh as often as possible. More upgrades coming now for the archery range as we have Bodkin arrow coming in for red. Red for this game has been quite behind on timing as it relates to going up to the next age. But check this out. The composition for red is 14 cavalry archers, and the composition from blue at this point is 1 camel, 3 pikes, and 5 monks. And that's not going to do the trick. This wall is probably like, you know, some kind of like, how do you say, foresight coming in from blue, because if they're not able to get these up and red is able to go around, which, man, I really would have loved it if red had just gone around in this case and not gone straight into the base to find some licks in the back. But if red had been able to do that, it would have been, I'm not sure if it would have been a massacre. I think it would have been troublesome. Siege workshops are going to get denied for blue. And these monks are going to try to convert. As red now, it's going to get even more upgrades for the archers. But as soon as Imperial Age comes in a few seconds, I think that's going to kind of light a fire under red's butt. They probably need to start going into Imperial pretty soon. Chemistry now coming in as... Is blue trying to scale the scorpions here? Also, Trebuchet now in the queue for blue, which I think is kind of a bit aspirational. I think Trebuchets don't really do anything at this point in the game. I think you have to get a castle that's much closer to your opponent. Start, for example, trubbing down this castle. I also don't think that scorpions are going to be fast enough to handle what I'm talking about. And blue was not able to build these walls fast enough, and red should be able to deny as they are continuing to scale their villagers and should be able to click up to Imperial themselves pretty soon. Walls get denied, and now blue's not going to have any much to defend. Scorpions are in the field, which do pretty good against cavalry archers, but they're not very mobile. Red has a lot of opportunities over here to kill these villagers, but I think they're a little interested in aging up, which they now do as they click up to Castle Age, and I would love to see the cavalry archers scaling even more. This is a pretty good defense. It's not terrible defense. The problem is I think that red should be able to one-shot most of these monks, which is really, really big value. That's like 500 gold going down from blue just in a little fight. I would like to see some better micro also at this point from red. I think that taking out all of the scorpions you can do, but it's honestly not the best economic value. I think that if you just honestly run by these TCs, you go for the actual veil kills, it probably would have been a bit better. So both players not playing like super optimally, but you know, it's an even game at this point. Both players really, really high villager count. I would say that blue is behind by about 12 or 11 villagers. They're going to be behind by even more as red is able to absolutely shred these villagers off the wood line. Scorpions are a pretty good defense, but I think that red has a really, really big missed opportunity just to micro these cavalry archers a lot more. More cavalry archers are now in the queue as red runs their cavalry archers right into a TC, which is not advised, as blue is going to stick on scorpions and go heavy scorpions. So I think that now, if you have a good mass of scorpions and you spread them out in the base for defense, I do think that this mass of scorpions is going to be bad for red. So you're going to have to put something else in the mix. You're going to have to put maybe some more cavalry in the mix to deal with these scorpions. And if blue starts to push just with these scorpions, and I don't see these, do they see these two sneaky villagers coming over here at this point? I don't think so. Red secret castle coming in on the right-hand side, and the problems are now going to start mounting as blue is able to get a counterattack. But this is sneaky. This is sneaky. So you got red coming over here for the house, and the zzto942 warriors shred them, and blue might be saying, aha, I gotcha. But no, they do see, or are going to get to see, this castle, but it goes up in time. Really, really great timing for red, as now the zzto942 warriors are going to take a little bit of castle fire, and some more defenses being mounted over here from red as they get more house walls, they get more cavalry archers, now have a light cav, which could be an okay counter to maybe not this many heavy scorpions. I think that you're going to want a lot more light cav to deal with this, and both players having a bit trouble spending their money. Treb now going to come in and start trebbing down this castle, and unfortunately, I think it's probably going to go down even with one treb. Why is that? I think it's because red does not have a really, really great composition to deal with this at this point. I think once we get all the light cav out of the queue, if we're able to also distract with the cavalry archers, then it could be okay. Second treb now coming in for red. Torsion engines, which helps out the siege, now coming in. And I don't think that blue understands at this point that this trebuchet is actually under castle fire. Red going around the outside and going to find some harassment point. This is good. I think this is really good. If you get this entire army and this ball to get really, really big economic damage on blue, I think it's an okay trade for the castle. Problem now manning on the front as we have a lot of heavy scorpions. I think you need to get a lot of light cab to start dealing with this. Armor upgrades now coming in for the infantry units. Not sure why from blue. Might have been a misclick. And yeah, you need to get a lot more light cav than what's going on here. It looks like red has the right idea, as they might be getting some bombard cannons or mangonels going to coming out of these two forward siege workshops, but there's a lot of havoc going on the other side of the map. The kills are mounting and mounting against this side of the map, and there is no protection at all from blue, who is now getting up a panic castle, and the villager population is dropping. So I think blue might have to come back home and start clearing this up. Looks like they're on the move. Light cab mounting on the front. More cavalry archers are now starting to stream in from red as the panic castle does go up, but the damage is done as we see blue's population now drop down to 90 compared to the 132 population that we have now for red. A little snipe here coming in from red, taking out the trebuchet. Scorpion mass going up and up and up and up. I was going to say it could have caused problems in the front, but I think that if you spread out a few castles more, if you're red, then it should be fine. Now we get royal heirs coming in from the Ethiopian player, which I believe gives a little bit of defense to the zzto942 warriors, if I'm not mistaken, against cavalry damage. Red's going to come over here and just stay on the outside and look for more damage, as now they're going to upgrade into the hard counter and go up to halberdier to start taking care of these pesky scout cav. So a lot of economic problems being caused for blue, is now they're down to 82 villager pop. So they're running out of food. The gold's not great either. They do have some money to put extra castles here in the back to start scaling their eco. But this wood is not going to last forever, right? I think that economically speaking, red is in a much better position. Their army is continuing to scale. They have wing hussars now out on the map. They're going to get the real counter to all these heavy scorpions, which are these mangonels. But blue is being a little sneaky, as he is going to go around the outside with not that many Shoto warriors. They're being attacked by a lion, which you hate to see. They're going to look for some Vil kills. Not sure if he's going to find any. I think these villagers are pretty well protected by this TC on the outside. Red continuing to be annoying on the outside and just bust some holes in the back. Kill more villagers. Blue getting masonry for God knows why. Probably to save some of these buildings. As blue is going to scout over here. I love this decision by red to just spread out the castle, which I think is a really, really good counter. Blue also spreading out. Going to cover some of this gold and cover some of this stone, which is good. And really nice reaction time here from red. The TC should be able to very easily take out the Shoto warriors. Havoc being wreaked in the back, as now look at these really, really slow scorpions now moving into the back, which is really distracting the fight from the front. I honestly think if blue cannot get a good attack together beyond the two Shoto warriors over here who died of the TC fire, then it's not going to be a good game for blue. I think that these scorpions have to be used in a really offensive manner, but as time goes on, these castles that are spread out in the base for red is just going to solidify their position, right? I think you have to get a really, really solid counter to these light cav, to these cavalry archers, and units that move as slow as my grandma is just not going to do the trick. It doesn't even matter if these light cav die because the economic trade is just really not there for blue. I mean, these are units that cost a lot of money. The queue for red is now containing some trebuchets. I think we could probably use some more light cav, some more CA in the queue for red. Siege engineers now coming in as it looks like these onagers are ready to shred. And as soon as this castle goes down, the problems are going to start mounting, I think, for blue. They're going to have to get something better than the composition they just have. The queue for both players is honestly not great. I would like to see a little more diversity in the queue. We do have a completely full queue for the hussars for red. They do got to dump that food, as we're now starting to move for a bit more trash units from red, as they're starting to have some gold problems. Resources sitting pretty for blue, but, I mean, things are going down the shitter pretty fast. The villager queue is empty, and the only thing they have in queue at this point is scorpions, which is not going to do the trick. You got to get something a little bit more mobile to get inside the red's base. And honestly, I'm calling the GG. I'm calling the GG early for blue. I think economically speaking, it's over. The snowball has arrived. Getting foraging, which you should have got a long time ago, in feudal age is not going to do the trick. At this point, the light cav can just sacrifice themselves. Because look at the food coming in for red. We're talking about 3,000 food, 60 villagers on food, 39 on wood. And it's going to be a huge snowball. Red even stunts on blue by getting murder holes for I don't know why. Big flex. It's probably just because he can afford it. Not sure why blue has not called the GG at this point. It's probably because he has like this army of heavy scorpions that he just wants to use like one last time, guys. One last ride of the Rohirrim. One last ride of the heavy scorpions. And this is going to be the last ride because as soon as these heavy scorpions come in, they're going to get absolutely shredded by the onagers who are on the high ground. Melee armor now coming in for infantry units from blue. I have no idea why. If anyone knows why, you can explain to me in the comments. The scorpions turn tail and run. Doesn't matter if fall if the wing hussars go down. It doesn't even matter if the onagers go down. This is an absolute massacre. This is an absolute clear out. We see blue hanging on to the last bit of hope as they are now down to 75 villagers, under 100 pop. And the GG comes in for blue. Despite the fact, and I remind you, which some of you may have forgotten at this point, red did not panic. They were really, really, really late to castle in this game. The Trickle Knights did come through. I think that was a bit of a mistake for blue. But red fought back with the villagers. If you rewind back. So that was actually a surprising instance of red keeping a very cool and level head, despite the fact their opponent was looking like they were about to snowball them. So I'm really surprised this game. And some of you who may not know, as a result of this game, I got to congratulate Visioner. Visioner has officially joined the 1500 club.